I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. And I am happy that you are here. I really am. It's going to be a good one tonight, people. I get to do the lifeboat, and I'm pretty excited about it. We got M. Hunt Pagan. Noise Opera is here. Good to see you, bud. Miss V, hope you had fun yesterday. I'm glad that you're back. Squirrel, get over here. Do your job, you lazy cat. Been trying to abscond for a long period of time. Squirrel, come here. Come on. All right, so Stacy Michaels, Alan Ballantyne. The group is coming together. Soon the group will all be here, and Squirrel is tearing up my office. She's angry for some reason. She got locked in a drawer. Her fault, not mine, but she's been a bit grumpy since. So let's see here. All right, we're ready to go. Tell me, what do you think of the camera? Huh? Are we where we want to be? It's a little bright because I got something in my face right now, but there we go. There you go. There you go. All right, so you saw tonight's thumbnail, and I hope nobody was offended. You know, we're easily offended these days. Whoa, listen to that.
Thumbnail.
That was loud. Hope everybody is cool with that. Trigger. A trigger is a trigger, right? So tonight we're going to be talking about triggers. They get a lot of misunderstandings that go on about triggers. And before we get rolling, I want to talk about the mindset of recovery, because there are mindsets that work and there are mindsets that don't. And one of the biggest problems that we have is that we manifest failure. Okay? Follow me on this. We manifest failure. When you give up doing dope, or you give up drinking, or any other bad habit for that matter, I don't care whether you're overeating or you're gambling or you're doing whatever. When the time comes that you give up that habit, what's the first thing that you do? You mourn it. Literally, you go into this mourning process because all of a sudden you come up with this conclusion that, well, fun's over. For the rest of my life, I'm now going to have to live a life that has no fun and has nothing to do with all of the stuff that I love. Because we build up our habit in our mind to be something it's not. Believe me on this. We build up our habit to be something that it's not. And can I get a 5x5? Am I too bright, people? Let me see something here. A little better? What you're getting is screen glare from everywhere. Okay, I don't know if any of you have ever read the book, The Message. It's a very, very popular book. About a bazillion people read it. Thank you very much. Pagan, Dennis, thank you. Hey, the video quality is amazing today. I like hearing that. I thought I was just elderly. You are elderly. So we get this mindset, right? If you read the book, the Message, the idea is, or The Secret rather, not The Message, The Secret. Very popular book. You manifest what's going to happen in your life, right? And I don't know that I buy into it. I'll be really honest with you, I don't. It doesn't really jive with a lot of my beliefs. But I will tell you this. If you spend all day long thinking about, I gotta quit, I gotta quit, I gotta quit, I gotta quit, right? I can't do dope, I can't do dope, I can't do dope, I can't drink, I can't have a drink, I can't have a drink. What are you thinking about all day long? Drinking, dope, right? This is what you're concentrating on. This is what you're manifesting into your life. All of your time you spend thinking about drugs. I don't. I promise you. And I'm not here to tell you that I'm a guru or a smart guy, but I don't spend my day thinking about opiates. They don't ever cross my mind unless I'm talking to somebody about getting off of them, or if I'm writing up something for a show. I don't sit and think about them. I used to. I spent 30 years thinking, I got to get off of dope. 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 And you know what that does? It means you spend 30 years thinking about dope. And then you start thinking about, why do I got to get off of it, right? Why do I got to? Because it's the most fun thing in the entire world, right? That's what you tell yourself. I got to give up the thing that I love most in the world. I got to give it up. I got to give it up. All right, I got to give it up. I got a better idea. Instead of going down that road, right? Oh, my life is over. I'm going to do it because I need to do it, you know? And then we fail. We stumble and we fall and you know, we aren't successful in our first attempt or our 35th attempt or our 200th attempt. And we tell ourselves things like, you know what? I wasn't ready. Or I wasn't doing it for me, right? I just wasn't doing it for me. I was quitting for other people. I wasn't ready to go. I wasn't, this wasn't the time. Or, you know what? I just wasn't committed enough. Man, I thought I wanted to quit, but I wasn't all in. I wasn't completely committed, and it was completely different. Well, I got news for you. None of that's the reason. That's not why you fail. It's not why you fall down. It isn't. I assure you. The reason is you're manifesting nothing but negative thoughts, negative energy. I gotta not drink. I gotta not drink. Right? I can't do blow. I can't do blow. Blow, 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 blow. That's all you're thinking about all day long. Of course you're going to use. You're creating your own trigger. You are your own trigger. All day long, every day. You're your own trigger. So what you got to do is, you got to concentrate on the things in life that have nothing to do with your substance of choice. The reason that I'm here today, wearing a hat and talking to you, is because I finally met somebody that didn't say to me, you got to go out and you got to do this, this, and this. They said, tell me about the things in your life that you want to concentrate on quitting for. And instead of concentrating on quitting, I concentrated on my dad, and I concentrated on my mom, and I concentrated on my daughter, and I concentrated on Johnny, and I concentrated on not being a dirtbag. And all of the things that were in my head every day weren't about quitting. Honestly, it had nothing to do with that. I was concentrating on the things in my life that were important. They took up all of my thought process. I wasn't thinking, don't do dope, don't do dope, don't do dope, don't do dope. That would have been concentrating on dope all day long. I was concentrating on why I wanted to be a better person. Why is it that you want to be a better person? These are the things that kept me going in the right direction. People say the triggers, right? You hear external triggers and internal triggers. If you wanted to go the textbook route, they're going to say there are two types of triggers in rehabilitation. There's internal and there's external. Internal triggers are things like hungry, angry, lonely, tired, right? We talk about those all the time. Halt, right? Guilt. Those are internal triggers. They're almost always tied to emotion, right? And external triggers are, to use the cliches of the business, people, places, and things, right? So if every single time you drive across a bridge in Texas, you get to the other side of the bridge and you either go to the right to buy drugs from a guy, or you go to the left to buy drugs from a girl, and there's an apartment complex on both sides of the road as soon as you cross that bridge. I did that for a long time. And when I tried to quit, and I was serious about it, it was one of those substances that every time you start doing that substance, you got to go to the bathroom, right? And I know you probably know what I'm talking about, right? It goes up your nose. But if you just think about that, if the guy called and said, I'll be there in 15 minutes, everybody ran for the bathroom because that's how that substance worked. When I tried to quit, I had to stop going across that bridge because seeing those two buildings would light up my brain. Lord Kiss Freak, been here for a month. Feel like you've been here for years. Glad that you're here, brother. Look good and green. So I honestly, driving across that bridge, there was an Applebee's on the corner. If I went across that bridge, I would have to pull over into the Applebee's and go to the bathroom. Because the power of the stuff on the brain. Your brain has the ability to trigger you in ways you can't imagine, especially if it's what you're thinking about. So they say, you got to change people, places, and things. Okay, add thinking to that list. And don't go people, places, things, thinking. Go thinking, people, places, and things. If you don't change your thinking, you're not going to be successful. I mean, not on this try. I think you're all going to be successful. Every one of you is going to get to where you want to be. I believe that wholeheartedly. But if you'd like to get there this try, instead of 13 years from now, 12 years from now, whatever the case may be, 2 months from now, whatever, then you start by changing your thinking. People go, I don't want to journal, man. I'm so uncomfortable journaling. Well, guess what it does for you? It makes you stop thinking about dope. It makes you stop thinking about booze. And it makes you start thinking about just what's coming out of your head. And if what's in your head is that, then get it out and let your brain do whatever else. But journaling, and the purpose of that is to realign the mind. We're training our gray matter to work correctly. Honestly, that is the goal of getting sober. That is the goal of recovery, to get the brain working again. Like the shirt, hold on. Can you see that? The Doc Father. Sorry, I love this shirt. I really do. I love it. So, but you've got internal and external, and they are important to talk about, by the way. They really are. They're important to talk about. So you have internal and external triggers. And we're going to go over them, what the big ones are, what the ones people always talk about are. Because they're going to do a lot to help you stay sober. This is what I mean by when I say people don't plan to stay sober. They'll spend more time planning for a fishing trip than they will their sobriety. These are the things, right? The day-to-day, the actual nuts and bolts stuff that will help you stay sober, if you do it. If you don't, then you're going to say something like, well, I wasn't ready yet. Or, you know, I wasn't quitting for me. I was trying to quit for somebody else. All that's BS. I'm sorry, it really is. All of that stuff. What you're told in the recovery deal it's not good stuff. Very often it's not. It's just pablum, and they've been repeating it for so long that people are believing it. But the first thing you got to do is change how you think. I got a plan. Tell me what you think. Tonight, make me a list. You don't have to send it to me, but make me a list for you. Right? You know what Ben Franklin used to do, right? Line down the center of the paper. On the left side, all the reasons you shouldn't do something. On the right side, all the reasons you should. Then you count them up, right? And that's how Ben Franklin would make decisions. And in sales, they call it the Ben Franklin close. Make a line, list all the things on the left, why you should buy this, all the reasons on the right, why you shouldn't, and you help. That's how you blah, blah, blah. But in this time, this is what I want you to do. Write down on the left side of the piece of paper everything good that your drug did for you. And I know that there are people sober in the on the deck of the boat tonight that are going to say, my drug never did anything good for me. And I agree with you. But when you're in the moment, right, when you're still getting high, there's a long list of things that people will do. You know what? It helps me with anxiety, right? It helps me with anxiety. Man, it helps me come out of my shell, right? I'm not a social person, but I have 6 or 7 beers and I become really social. So make a list of all of those things that you think your drug is doing good for you. You know? Spent the last 2.5 days in Denver filing bankruptcy. Ended up doing it last night. Should have got my 5, but I'm good now. Good. Get back. Get your 5. Right? Get your 5. There's a spot you can go to get your 5. Go there. Joanne, good to see you. Really good to see you. So you start thinking about the things that supposedly this stuff does good for you. And then really evaluate them. Right? Well, it helps me get rid of my anxiety. I got news for you. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It helps you hide from your anxiety. It'll do that for you. No question. I did it for a long time. But your anxiety doesn't go away. It pumps iron. Right? It pumps iron. It gets stronger. It gets meaner. And someday you're going to deal with it. Might not be this go around. Might not be the next go around. Might not be this year. I pray it is for every one of you. I do. Pray every day that this is the day. And I believe it will be. But some of you aren't going to get it yet. And that's all right. But if you do these things, you're going to get it quicker. Make a list of all the stuff that this stuff does for you. In fact, blow off the other side. Because you know all the stuff that it does for you that's awful, or you wouldn't be on the boat. Make a list of all the reasons you think doing dope is a good idea. Well, you know, it does the anxiety thing or that social thing. You know what? I'm antisocial. I get so much tension that I don't feel like I could just release and be myself. I got news for you. There's a reason that stuff's there, right? Because dancing with a lampshade on your head or taking your pants off and running through a party, those are the kind of things that the thing in your brain that's saying, hey, maybe that's not such a good idea, right? That social anxiety, you have to learn a balance with that. I'm here today talking to people for an hour, and I'm not high. Okay? When I was a public speaker, I was high every single time I went on stage. And I used to tell myself that, well, you know what I do for a living, man, you got to take the edge off. I mean, there could be 5,000 people out there, and they're all staring at you, and you got to get up and you got to do it. An hour and 40-minute, show, and you're going to do it without a script, man. You know, rock stars say the same thing. I'm going on stage, man. You don't know the pressure. You know what else you don't know? The enjoyment. I'm having fun today. I didn't have fun as a public speaker. I look back and I tell a couple of cool stories. But the truth of the matter is, I was stressed all of the time because I had to have dope. If I didn't have dope, I couldn't go on stage. Literally, because I'd be sick. And I'd be in a strange city trying to comp. Oh, it's just a nightmare, people. So social anxiety, right? It helps with that. What else does it help with? People say, you know what? It really helps with pain. I got news for you. That pain, sorry. And you're talking to a guy that's had as many surgeries as most of you. Or you could talk to Johnny. And between the two of us, we've had more surgeries than anybody. Johnny's spine is completely got 2 rods going down the entire thing. Had a vertebrae removed. Had another vertebrae put in by a dead person. A cadaver vertebrae. Johnny's had stuff done to his back you wouldn't believe. He looked like Batman from the first movie. You know what I mean? When he turns his head. But the pain that we thought we were getting from our body, we were getting from our mind, because how addiction works is pretty simple. You give your brain something long enough and it says, you're going to keep giving this to me. Or I'm going to give you reasons to keep giving it to me. So if the reason you were taking it the first time was because you were in pain, I'll just make you hurt until you give me this. If the reason was social anxiety, I'll just make you so damn uncomfortable you're going to give this to me. If the idea was you were trying to hide from your problems, I'm going to make your problems huge. So you can keep running, or you can turn around and fight. And Johnny says it best. The problem with running from your problems is that when you stop running, they're still there. They chase you. They don't go away. And now you have to fight them exhausted from running. And sometimes we run for years. I ran for decades. For decades. But you know what? Once you stop and you start fighting, and people go, I wouldn't even know how to fight. Get a journal. Make your bed. Small little things that you start doing are going to have a profound effect on your life. Stop thinking, I got to quit doing dope. I got to quit doing dope. I got to quit doing dope. And start thinking, my daughter is beautiful. And she deserves a dad who's not high or in prison. That's a completely different focus. You understand? I'm not preaching, but we're talking about my list. I believe in God, and he gave me talents, and I'm flushing them down the toilet. That was huge. That was huge. So I started thinking, I got talents, and I could do things. I can help people. I can help people. I could take what I do on stage, and I can help people. I could talk about this stuff. And that became an obsession for me, which is why I'm here wearing a hat and a shirt that says The Doc Father. But I'm not high. And you know what? One of the triggers that they tell you is overconfidence. Confidence is important. Cockiness isn't. But I can't not be that guy. I'm not going to use. I'm not. Because I have put all these things in place. Right? Have 5. I've got 3,600. When I'm having a bad day, I come here and I talk to you people. Right? And how long do I go without talking to you people? Isolation? How long do I isolate? Seriously. I don't disappear. I do a morning video. Did you guys hear that? I do a morning video. About 100 of you catch it every single morning. You want to stay sober? Catch it. Make that go up to 300 people that see it every morning. Not because I'm cool, but because you need to start your day focusing on the fact that you're going to do the right thing today. It does wonders for you. It really does. It's like journaling. Boy, you beat that to death, Cap. Yep, I do. Because if you get up in the morning and you start writing, you're telling your day how it's going to be. Instead of, I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to drink. You know what? I watched the sun come up today. It was unbelievable. It was beautiful. It took my breath away. Right? My daughter is the most beautiful child I've ever seen. My son is a young man that deserves a sober dad. You write those kinds of things down, and that's what you enter your day into. Well, what if, I'm writing, how many days can I write that? The rest of your life. Get up every day, pick up a piece of paper and write down the reasons that you want to stay sober. I don't write them down anymore. I used to every day. Every day. That list, Q said to me, all right, good. And I'd start having a bad day and he'd go, you remember that first piece of paper? The first one that we filled out? Every single reason you're not going to do this dope? Or I'd go to him and I'd say, there's dope in the unit. There's dope in the unit. It's everywhere. It's all over there. Well, why don't you go and write down in your journal all of those reasons that you told me you didn't want to get high ever again? Did they change because there's dope in the unit? Did they change because you're having a bad day? No. See, the reasons that you list on that first sheet, they'll never change. They're concrete. They're etched in stone. They're truth. They're never going to change. You need to change your thinking. Stop concentrating on your substance of choice as a way to quit. That's stupid. I'm sorry, it is. It's stupid. And it's what they tell you to do. You got to get up in the morning and tell yourself, I'm not going to drink today. You got to get up in the morning and tell you you're going to attack it. You're going to make today a beautiful day. It's got nothing to do with booze. I'm going to make my day great. I'm not going to do any heroin today. So you want to start your day thinking about heroin and think you're going to get through your day without doing heroin. Well, that's not a great mindset. I promise you. That's not a good one. That's not a good one. Your internal trigger is you. Forget hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. All you do is think about your substance of choice. That's the problem, right? That is the problem. Chris, good. He says, I'm addressing my need for validation much more these days. Good. Figure out your problems. You know what really helps figuring out your problems? You don't want to hear it. But it starts with one of these puppies in your hand. I promise. It'll do wonders for you. Change your life. For real. And I know some of you are fighting it. Rob, I'm glad you're here, brother. Throw a 1 in the comments if you're journaling. And if you're not, don't lie. You don't have to. But there are people who are successfully writing in that book, and you're going to see a lot of 1s next to names of people who are sober. Go figure. I'm not putting a 1 in because I'm currently trying to juggle 6 things at once. But my 1's up there. Goes a long way to changing your life. If you're seeing this after the fact, I'm sad that you can't see all the 1s that are going up right now. I'm purchasing, not journaling, but I do write. That's the same. Look, you can call it whatever you want. Get the stuff out of your head. Right? Diary, journaling, scribbling crap on a notepad. I don't care what you call it. Right? But get the stuff out of your dome. Is that Samantha F? Good to see you. Jen Miller, glad you're here too. My comments over here are this big. It's the coolest thing you've ever seen. It really is. It's absolutely huge. I type mine into my phone. I do it on my phone too, but I use the little stylus thing. I've got one of those with a really cool stylus. You're buffering. Am I buffering to all of you? You know what? Good comment. Tommy Bird says, see, things like that are rules. Exception of not doing things that you did while you were getting high. Because you can enjoy public speaking, and they're fine doing it sober. You're absolutely right. And we do convince ourselves. You know, that's one of the big problems that we have, is that we convince ourselves that fun is over. We are the biggest trigger for internal triggers. Forget hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. Concentrating on dope all day. Thinking about all of the things that will never be fun again. That's going to make you get high. I promise you. And I want to tell you something. I'm loving life. Every part of it, I'm loving. There are times when I can't find my phone and I lose it and I'm not very cool. Those are the stupid moments, and I'm working on them. I've got issues with that. I've got times where I work for 6 hours on one watch trying to get one function that drives me insane, and I say things that I would never say on the air. And I'm working on it. I mean, I'm not perfect by a long stretch. But I don't think about dope. You know, I might yell a little. And I'm working on that. But I don't think about dope. You know, that doesn't help. Chuck Norris, good to see you, bud. You know who would win in a fight between Chuck Norris and Chuck Norris? Duh. Chuck Norris. Heather Joy, I'm glad you're here. Heather Joy is training for her first full marathon. You should talk to my brother Johnny, and everything he tells you, do the exact opposite. It almost killed him. For real. I mean, he trained for a marathon in a few minutes. Not a great deal. I start my day with exercise and a healthy meal. Huge. Huge. And we're going to talk about that in a second. Absolutely huge. 2 things that he's doing every morning when he starts his day that are massive. Right? Can't be hungry if you put something in your stomach. Right? And considering that this thing in here is about this big, the amount of calories it uses versus the rest of the body is astounding. But we get up and we don't give it anything. Once again, things we did when we were wasted versus things that we do sober. Did you get up every morning and have a breakfast when you were using dope? Well, then start doing it. Really good idea. Really, really good idea. It's those little things. All right, so there are 10 major triggers for that you will hear when you're doing this with professionals. You're with the captain. But if you were doing this with professionals, the first one that you're going to hear, number 1, is the internal, right? It's HALT. Hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. For all internal triggers, that's the biggest. Hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. So you need to start scheduling your day so that you eat. And eating 3 times a day will get you to what? It will have energy. You'll get through your day and you will go to sleep. Start getting on a schedule where you do the same thing all the time. We didn't do that when we were on dope, right? We were like a leaf on a river. We just go where it takes us. You know, the dope man's on the other side of town. So today I'm not doing anything until I drive to the other side of town or take a cab or hitchhike or do whatever I got to do because I got to go see him before I do anything. What are you doing today? I don't know. It's going to require sitting in a parking lot for 4 hours waiting for somebody to deliver dope 3 times, right? I got to do it in the morning. I got to do it in the afternoon. I got to do it at night. And then I'll steal in between there. Get a routine that you do every day. That's why making the bed's a big deal, people. Get up, make your bed, right? Tell the day, this is me. This is me. This is how I live now. That guy can still hang out back there and think about dope because he's gone. I don't know what page 1 Tommy is doing. You know, page 2 Tommy rather. I don't know what page 2 Tommy's doing. He's dead. No longer with us. If he wants to think about dope, that's great because he doesn't exist anymore. I don't think about dope. You got to stop thinking about your substance of choice. And if you feel yourself starting to think about your substance of choice, you do something about it. But hungry, angry, lonely, and tired can be killed with a schedule. It really can. And if it isn't, you reach out. Number 2, I want to run and play with my grandkids. Good for you. Number 2 is going to be emotions in general. And I say that because, you know, hungry, angry, lonely, and tired, right? There are some emotions in there. But there are a lot of us that really partied every single time something good happened, right? We're going to party. I just got a raise. That one's coming up. That one's coming up. Seriously, that's one of the biggest triggers. Getting a raise, getting a promotion, anything like that. They're huge. But emotions, if your emotion starts making you feel uncomfortable or too happy where you think, I could probably do one little drink, then you reach out to the 5, right? You start going to your fallbacks. The number 3 on the list is stress. And you know what? It ain't going away. It's not. So you have to learn to cope with it. Most of the things on this list, everyone deals with. Whether you're an addict, whether you're not an addict, whether you're a normie, or whether you're somebody like us, you're still going to have stress. It's part of every single day, and it always will be. Right? I need 5, please. Head over. We have a page for no other reason on YouTube. You pop over there and you type just what you just typed. You get in there and you type, I need 5, man. And they will descend on you. And they will give you contact information. You guys will go off into the corner. They'll hit you with a PM. And it's funny because I was talking to my friend Alan Ballantyne about this not an hour ago. He said, you know, I feel like we built that and there's nobody going in there. I said, they will. You watch. You need your 5? Get over there, people. That's what it is there for. Right? Absolutely the best. So 4 is what I was talking about earlier. When you start getting overconfident, you know, people call that the pink cloud syndrome, right? Cloud 9 syndrome. This is when you've been sober a year, you've been sober 6 months. Everybody gets hit at different places. Some people get hit 7 years, whatever. You know, where all of a sudden you feel like, you know what, man? I've got my life so in order now. I'm not that same guy. Right? My life is so in order, I could probably just do it, just one little sniff, and then not do it again. Just, you know, one for old time's sake, you know, maybe just on New Year's or you're done, right? We can't do one. If we could do one, we wouldn't be here, right? So we know that. So overconfidence. 5, illness, right? This is huge because illness comes in a lot of flavors, and one of them is up here, and it is so intricately attached to addiction. Mental illness is one of the number 1 causes. And I don't necessarily mean schizophrenia or anything that's really heavy duty. I mean, you could just suffer from depression. And people will write down on that piece of paper that I asked you to fill out earlier, it helps with my depression. The hell it does. It causes your depression. But you don't feel it when you're on it, right? But trust me, it doesn't help with your depression. The dumbest thing anyone has ever said. And I've had people tell me, I got to keep snorting coke, man. When I don't, I get depressed. No, you're depressed around the clock because you've never dealt with what made you depressed. However, you do a line and for 15 minutes you don't feel depressed, and then you immediately have to do another one. Swiss Vapor. Send me an email, my friend, and we're going to do an interview together. I want you on here. And you're going to let one slide. But you know what? We're going to do it anyway. Swiss Vapor is his only challenge. I mean it. He's doing so fantastic. But the only challenge in doing an interview with the Swiss Vape is he's been known to occasionally let one slide. But you know what? We'll get through it. All right? And people want it. I got a lot of people that reach out to me and said, you know what? I want to hear that man's story. So reach out to me, Vape. Sober at myyahoo.com. Sober at my Yahoo, not just Yahoo, myyahoo.com. Let's do an interview. After illness, right? And then physical illness is in there too. I know I harped on mental illness, but physical illness is in there. I mean, if you're in pain, that's a tough thing to overcome. It really is. Especially since of all of the things that your brain can really play with, psychosomatic pain is real. Right? Sounds funny, doesn't it? Psychosomatic pain is real. You feel it the exact same way, but there's no mechanism causing it anymore. So, you severely damage your shoulder, right? You blow it out. It's a total. You tear the labrum, the rotator cuff, you break the collarbone, you dislocate the shoulder, the entire thing is done. I've had it. So they go in there and they fix it. And they write you a prescription, and they're giving you Loratab 7.5. So they're giving you Loratab extra strength or whatever. And you go through the prescription and you call the doctor and you say, I'm dying. I'm still feeling this. So they give you another one. Right? And yeah, I declare that the old Rob from time to time tries to break back to the Ray's temple. I can't stand that guy. You know what? I never met him. I bet I wouldn't have liked him either. You know what I mean? That's just kind of the way that works. It really is kind of the way that works. So the doctor writes me another prescription for my shoulder. And I do that. And then I get another prescription. And then that doctor tells me I can't get him anymore. So I find another doctor, which is a lot harder today than it used to be. But we used to go to 2 or 3 of them. Right? It's called doctor shopping. And you'd be getting scripts from everybody. And then you try to get off of the stuff. But the shoulder never stops hurting. Well, I got news for you. The shoulder stopped hurting. You know what the proof of that is? Because I'm here right now, right? We're good. But for years after that surgery, I believed that my shoulder had never healed. Backs broken. I broke my C6 vertebrae in the neck twice. And it was never going to heal. But the pain was there forever. The pain wasn't there forever. It was psychosomatic. But that doesn't mean it hurts any less. I don't want anybody getting mad at me and going, my pain's real. All pain is real. But my neck was no longer causing it. My brain was causing it. And sadly, I did dope for 30 years because I was in pain. You know, that's terrible. So that's real. The next one is social. I don't know why the word's giving me hell today. Social isolation. This is a big one, people. This is huge. S-isolation is huge. This is a problem for a lot of people, especially when you're in the life. Because our habits, we might share 10 minutes a day with somebody who cops with us or we get high with somebody, but there's no interaction, right? You sit down, you do your dope, and you have conversations like, this stuff's good, it's got legs. You won't need to do it, any for a long time. Or, dude raises his prices one more time, I'm going to kill him. Those aren't conversations, right? You're still socially isolated, even if you're in a room of 30 people that are using. That's not a social situation. So social isolation is real. And it's something that we suffer with. And after the C+ math, people had it really, really badly. So this kind of stuff that we're doing, having your 5, right? Sending a few texts back and forth to people in the morning saying, hey, good luck, attack today, man. You got this, right? Do it for your daughter. Do it for your son. Do it for the reasons you wrote on that list, man. Go out and attack the day. Make this the best day you ever had. And be happy during the day. You think the things that I say in the morning are silly, you know what I mean? Spend the day just opening doors for people and being nice. If you spend your entire day concentrating on, I'm going to try to be nice to every single person I see today. You know what you're not concentrating on? All right. The next one is relationships. Now, if that sounds like social isolation, you're wrong. When I say relationships, and everybody always says, big rule, cliche in the game, do not get in a relationship for at least a year. You'll hear some people say 2 years after you start getting sober. You know what? I can't tell you when to get into a relationship. That's way above my pay grade. I can't. But I can tell you this. You ever break up with somebody you really care about? It's devastating, right? It's one of the most heart-wrenching things. Sometimes it takes years to get over. Sometimes you don't get over it. You just learn to live with it. Be careful in your relationships. If they feel really, really intense, really, really quickly, you might just be looking for the next high. And people believe it, that's a high, right? I mean, the first time you meet someone and you're love at first sight, and things just light up, and that you got to be careful. And I'm not going to tell you how to live or how to do your relationship. It's way above my pay grade, but be careful. Always be checking yourself. And you say, it's a hard thing to do. You write down what's going on in your mind every day for 2 weeks, and then you go back and read it. Take you an hour. And that journal that you thought you were just writing down is going to tell you everything going on in your life. Karen's driving me insane. You know what? I love Karen, but she's really driving me nuts. Well, by midday, you're fine. If Karen's driving you crazy every day, maybe you need to say, Karen, I'm going to back off for a little bit. Love you. But my sobriety's got to come first, and I feel like I'm going in the wrong direction. So if you love me, you're probably going to be here through it. And if you're not, then I got to look for that person, right? But relationships are huge. You got to be careful with them. And if you're married already and you're quitting, you know what? You're not going to leave the wife over it. You're not going to leave the husband over it. So you have to learn how to get back in. Sorry, I'm back. I got 30 minutes. Well, we're glad you're back. The good news is this is on recording, so you'll be able to catch it. But we're glad you're here, Mark. We really are. It's always great when people can talk. Trauma bonding is also a real thing. Pagan, no doubt. No doubt. So, and what she means by that is that very oftentimes two people will meet in recovery, right? So you go to an NA meeting and, you meet somebody and everybody's there, there's trauma there. And if two people are recovering at the same time, my goodness, my ex and the person she ended up marrying, they met in rehab, in a lockdown rehab. And I knew that day, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I knew that was never going to last. She knew it was never going to last. Franklin, day 10, Franklin is also going over there to look for his 5. The other people who just said, hey, I'm looking for 5, Franklin's got to finish off his. So get over there. You guys link up. This is how it works. Do it. Don't talk about it. Be about it, right? The next one, new job, new house, right? Anything that has taken you really fast that way. You get a promotion at work. Right? You're making 25 grand a year and they tell you you're now making 35 or 38. That's dangerous territory for triggers. Dangerous territory. You start saying things like, you know what? I could afford this. Honestly, what was I spending last year on dope? Maybe 10 grand, right? 15 grand. Now if I did it, I wouldn't have even been in trouble. And you start backslide. You're in relapse. That first thought, you're in relapse. I'm 6 years into a new roller coaster long distance relationship. She was love at first sight, literally. Not like my prior wife, who I had nothing comparable to. I screwed up at first. Because using. Oh, I got you. Chuck, you know what to do. Honestly, you know if you're going in the wrong direction or if you're not. Again, relationships, above and beyond my pay grade. I can give you advice, we can talk. But I'm never going to tell people to get in or out of relationships, man. That's bad juju. It really is. It's not what I'm here for. The roller coaster thing scares me a little bit. That's not a great word usually when people are talking about relationships. But it's you, right? That one is on you. So, so the new job thing, anything that takes you too high up, right? Or gives you a whole new stash of money or anything like that. Windfalls of good things. If you knew how many times people have talked to me who said, so-and-so passed away, right? A great-grandparent, a grandparent, a mom, a dad, whatever. Left me a lot of money. So what just happens, right? You're in one of the big ones. Not the ones. You're in the 10. You just lost somebody you really care about and they gave you a bunch of money. For an addict, that is a death sentence if you don't get on the phone and start talking to people. Start telling them, I'm in a bad place, man. I'm really missing whoever. Talk about it, right? Talk about it. Get it out of your body, right? Journal about it. Talk about it. Don't let it inside. Right? That's a big one, people. That really is. Number 9 is nostalgia. And this is, I hate reading it on a list because I love nostalgia. Right? I can still talk about glory days, and they don't have to be about getting high. I still did a lot of really cool stuff in life. Was I high? Yeah, I was. But I don't need to start the story with, you know what? There was a ski competition that was an epic day and it was just perfect and I could talk about the day. I don't have to say, and right before I did it, right before I did everything, until I was 46, I got high. So nostalgia is not a bad thing if you're thinking of the past. If you're thinking of how much fun it was when you were in the parking lot instead of on the mountain, well, then maybe you should be reaching out to somebody and telling them you're in a bad place. Nostalgia. And when that really gets bad is when you start to glorify your old usage. Yeah, I really used to have a lot of fun before I quit. You're in relapse. Wildly. You're already there. You're already there. All right? So reach out and tell somebody about it. Tell them, boy, I'm missing it. And I should be talking to somebody because, these are unhealthy thoughts. They are, right? If you're thinking about how much fun it was to get high, you think you're in a bad place. You are. And a lot of times that happens right around that pink cloud time. That's when people start getting so overconfident. It's because you've got so much time in there and you feel like, yeah, I do miss it though, I do miss it. Well, then you're doing something wrong. You miss your drug of choice, you're doing something wrong. And in the beginning, everybody misses it. That's not what I'm talking about. But there's a difference between being dry and being sober. We talk about that all the time, right? Chemical free and sober are two very, very different things. Charlie Mullins, good to see you. Charlie, go to Messenger and answer me. Sorry. And then the last one is social situations. Somebody sent me an email today, and they were talking about a documentary that they were watching. And the documentary triggered this person. There's no two ways about it. It was a painful documentary, and they were showing some drug use and overdoses, and it was a tough thing, and it triggered this person. Didn't mean the person went out and used, but it put them in a very, very bad mindset, and it took them a couple of days to sort of get back out of it. It was one of those things that you have to watch how external things can affect you internally. Another person sent me an email today that said they were watching somebody glorifying a bartender. And what a great mixologist this person was, and blah, 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 and how he was bringing these beautiful, tasty concoctions to the world. And he said something just poignant. He said, can you imagine if you tuned in to something on Instagram or one of those, and there was a guy mixing up Fent and talking about, they were saying, boy, he puts this together better than anybody. He gives you a strong batch, and this stuff is, but that's what that was for him. And it hurt me. It really did. But if your substance of choice is alcohol, then there are things that are going to be tough. Reach out, talk to people. When it starts feeling tough, reach out and talk to somebody. Right? My brother Johnny and I had a roommate when we lived in Texas. He was a friend of mine from college, and a commercial would come on, and this is cruel. There's no other word for it. But at the time, we were idiots and we thought it was funny. But a commercial would come on for a malt beverage. Rip Curl, good to see you. For a malt beverage. And all any of us had to do in the room was go, boy, does that look good or what? And within 2 minutes, he'd be up, out in his car, going and driving to get it. Because it was that much of a trigger. And we would giggle because we were sick people that didn't know any better. But, so social situations for drinkers are really hard. Because you get somewhere and you feel like, because you've been doing it so long, you feel like that every single person in the room is like, is that a Powerade he's got in his hand? Hey, what's wrong with him? Doing a recovery thing? Or you feel like a leper or someone staring at you. And this sounds lame. It really does. And I've had people say to me that, no, man, you just, you stand up and you tell them, hey, I'm in recovery. You know what? If that's hard in the beginning, don't do that. Seriously, if that's really hard for you in the beginning, then don't do it. Go get a club soda with a lime. They're never going to know what you're drinking. If that's hard in the beginning, then do that, right? Live as if you ain't got to deal with them, right? But at some point, you are going to have to be the person that says, hey, I don't do that crap, right? And that's the best way to do it. Not, I got to drive, none of those things. If you're going to go with the honest route, go with the honest route. If you're not, just get a club soda with a lime. They'll leave you alone. And here's the thing. If a person comes up and says to you, what is that? What do you got? Come on, let's get you a beer. Get them out of your life. Get them out of your life, right? Change people, places, and things. You don't have to get rid of everybody you knew. You got to get rid of the jackwagons. And if a guy comes up and says, hey, what's your problem? Why haven't you got a drink in your hand? He's a jackwagon, or she is. Get them out of your life. Get them out of your life. I promise you. If somebody comes up to me from my past or present tomorrow and goes, come on, dude, you got 7.5 years in. Let's just do a little sniff. He'll be lucky if I don't physically throw him out of wherever we are. But I will never see that person again, I assure you. Ever. Again. It would not be a very good idea. Yeah, a tree, hold on one second, he said. I had a 4.5, but kombucha, I never say that right. Kombucha tea at Kroger triggered my phenomenon of craving. The number of things that can create craving, some of them seem silly, some of them seem serious. I cannot listen, you all have heard this. I can't put on the album Appetite for Destruction, and I'm out, 7.5 years. I can't listen to that album. I can't. It has an effect on me. There was, for probably a decade, I got up in the morning and that was what I would kick on. And then I would go do my thing. And it was usually the song Mr. Brownstone, and I just can't listen to it. I can't. If it comes on the radio, I turn it off. I'm not there. I may never be there. And it's sad. I used to like the album. I could listen to the rest of the stuff they do, but that album. And if one song, but if I were to listen to it one after the other, I would be in deep, deep trouble. It would take my brain to a place that I don't ever want to be. There are people who say, make a list of all of your triggers. I don't know that that's such a great idea. I've done it. I've made trigger lists. And for me, it was like, honestly, it must have been 25 or 30 pages. I'm not exaggerating, because they said, make a list of everything that makes you think of drugs. If you've been doing dope every day for 40 years or 30 years, what in hell doesn't make you think of it? But when I tell people to make a list of triggers, I'm talking about people, places, and things, right? That are really, really a problem. If you've got a jackwagon friend who every time he sees you says, hey, you want to get high? All right, that person's got to be number one on that list. And people say, well, if you reach out to the people, yeah, reach out to them. Tell them you're sober. 5 years from now. Until then, you don't need them in your life. And if they call, just say, brother, you know what? Your lifestyle and my lifestyle right now are not the same. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but we are in just two really different places. So I'm fighting real hard to stay sober, and I think it might be best if I just don't spend a whole lot of time with you, And I'll be honest. I told you people, I had one friend from my past that I talked to, right? He's been on here. You've heard him, Jack. And I haven't talked to Jack in 5.5 months. I don't know if he's using. I'm not accusing him of using, but he's definitely not the guy that he was when I got out. His lifestyle is different, and he told me he's sober. But I'll be damned if he and I are talking, which makes me really suspect. And if he is, I'll pray for him up a storm. I'll do everything I can to help him, but I'm not going to hang out with him. I'd hang out with him this way. I'd invite him on the boat. But I'm not going to go over to his place. I'm not going to invite him to mine. I'm sorry. And Niall once, talked about how, you would have to reach out to those people. There's a difference between reaching out and hanging out. Real big difference. I'm having a terrible time on this phone. Am I not coming through to people? Huh? Because I really thought... Oh, wrong emoji. Okay, we're good. Because really, I feel like I got this phone together. I was in a rehab for 6 months. Tommy gives better advice. Oh, that's a nice thing to say than I have ever listened to in that 6 months. Here's the problem. And I'm not busting on people that haven't been high. I'm not. Because there are some great people in rehabilitation field who don't do drugs. There really are. There are some great people. But unfortunately, when they train, there's a handbook, right? I had about a decade to read all of them. Every book that people wrote who said, this is why that handbook doesn't work, right? Everybody that said, nah, that's not the way I went. And then I met somebody who had read all of them and said, here's what I've seen work. And it's a combination of a lot of different things. And you know what? There's a lot of people who hear me who think the exact opposite, right? Rip says, I have lots of triggers, but they're all on firearms. He does. He's got a cool show, too. You can watch him. I wish I could. It's never going to happen again. I can't be anywhere near one of those legally. Bad thing. I would never get out. But that's where they should. That's where they should be. I have triggers. I still do. I have a bunch of them. But the majority of my triggers are people, places, and things. And I don't go near them. So my former business partner and I think I told the story. We were cleaning out an apartment for somebody who had moved. And this guy was a former casino owner. It was a fascinating thing to go into a house that somebody walked out the door with dishes in the sink and then never came back. That's literally how it happened. So it was like life stopped in this apartment. Plants, all of it. And we had to go in there and shut it down about a year and a half, right? Might have even been a little longer than a year and a half after he just plain walked out the door. And so we're just boxing stuff up and writing, this room or whatever the case may be. They haven't experienced addiction or poverty, lived a will of life, and went to college, university for the training. Hard to take them seriously. Recovery houses did not work for me at all. And I hear that a lot. I really do. I hear that a lot. It helps if somebody has been through it when they're talking to you about it, which is why group therapy works. And if the person who heads up the group has been there, that's usually why every AA and every NA meeting, they don't bring in speakers that are sober, right? They don't bring in sober speakers. And their success rate's great. You may not like the program. I don't. It doesn't work for me at all. And I don't work for people. There are people who hear me and my style just isn't for them. And you know what? I hope they find someone's that is. Because you do need to listen to somebody or something or other people. You just have to be involved with other people who are getting sober and staying sober. That's really what it's all about. And but I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'm glad I'm yours, Heather. I really am, because you bring a lot to the boat. So I'm really, really glad that you're here. And that was a really nice thing to say. It made me feel good. So when the triggers start, then what? Right? What happens when you start feeling triggered? Well, first of all, there are some things that, you know what? This is a great comment. What a great comment. Kimberly Ray, comment of the day, says, meetings are triggers. They don't work for me either. You know what? Hey, Joe, good to see you. I love that. I love that. I'm sorry, I really do. And you know what? They work for a lot of people. And I'm not bad-mouthing it for any of the people that it works for. I'm not. And I ran them. I've been the speaker at meetings. I can't tell you how many times. I literally can't tell you how many times. Probably as many as I've done lifeboats, right? Because we didn't have an option of going online, and we were locked up. But this is a true story. Promise you. I got 2 years of sobriety in that entire 30-year or whatever stretch. My longest stretch in that 30 years of using dope was 2 years that I spent sober. And I was court ordered to go to a certain number of meetings per month. And I relapsed in the parking lot. And then I made it about a year and a month another time. And same thing. I relapsed in the parking lot of a meeting. And all it took was making eye contact. I made eye contact with a guy in there that gave me one of these. Like, I'm holding, you want to get out of here and go get high? Like, that was it. We didn't even talk. He got up and walked out of the room about 40 minutes in after he'd already had his paper signed. And I met him outside. He's like, you want to do one? Same thing the time before, except the time before I knew the person. But meetings for some people don't work. And the reason is they watered them down. They forced people to go to them that shouldn't be in them. Right? For real. People that have no intention, no desire whatsoever to get sober. Chuck said it was definitely a big trigger for him too. For a lot of people, it's why the lifeboat's here. I'm not kidding. When I got out of prison, they said, you got to bring me 30 meetings or 90 meetings in 90 days. And I said, take me back. I'm not kidding you. I said, I am not going. I sat in my kitchen with my probation officer. Said, I'm not going to a meeting. Not going to happen. And I had to go to a couple of places that run them to deal with people, and they had to do interviews with me and all that. And I got the boat up and running fast. I got the boat up and running fast, which was good, because by the time I had talked to my probation officer, we had about 700 or 800 people on the lifeboat. And I said, man, I'm doing meetings, but this is how I'm going to do them. I'm not going to go to one. I'm not relapsing. I'm not going to put myself in that position. Just one of those things. I agree with you people. I really do. So when we start feeling the triggers coming on, there are a bunch of different things that you can do to prevent them from coming on, right? Eating right. Big deal. Big deal. Getting 3 meals a day. It doesn't have to be fancy. Just get food in your belly, 3 times a day, especially in the beginning. Later on, you want to diet, you want to do stuff. But when you're first trying to get sober, eat 3 meals a day. Do it. It will help you. It will also help you sleep, right? Eating and sleeping are huge because then you're not hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. And I'll be honest with you. If you are hungry or you are tired, you're more likely to be angry. For real. So that's huge. That's absolutely huge. Number 2 is relaxing, right? You got to work on relaxation because it's a part of our life. Stress is one of the biggest triggers. So you absolutely, I just say no to AA. I'm not going to trigger heaven. Rob, I agree with you, man. I really do. I'm glad you guys are on the boat. I really am. Because it's a totally different thing. And you could say that here. Can you imagine standing up at a meeting and saying that? Holy mackerel. You would not be back. Let me see something here real quick. Make sure I didn't miss something. Okay, good. So, what it comes right down to is the more you can figure out your relaxation, and I'm not going to tell you how to relax because it's different for everybody. For a lot of people, prayer does wonders. It helps me a lot. For some people, it's meditation. And I used to meditate in prison. I can't do it out here. I have a much more difficult time out here doing it. But there's people who color. Don't laugh. There's people who color things like coloring books. There's so many different things that you can do to try to relax the mind. Find what works for you and bring relaxation in to a part of what you do because it is an important part of everything that, to try to avoid the triggers, relaxation is going to be huge. Bring order into your life. And this probably should have been number 1. Bring order into your life. Make your bed, clean your room. If you're in a room, right, and there's stuff all over the floor and there's your mind takes you back to every other room you've ever been in like that. If you're hanging stuff up and you're doing stuff, it's not going to look like the rooms that you used to be in, and they're not going to be trigger rooms. Right? Put a little order in your life, it'll go a long way, I promise. That's why I say make the bed. Drug addicts don't make beds. Alcoholics don't make beds. Right? They don't. So start doing stuff that, make order into your life. It is a big thing. Music can be absolutely huge. Joe, absolutely huge. Both directions. It can be the anti-trigger and it can be the trigger. It can be one of the greatest things in the world for relaxation. Absolutely. And there's a lot of people that really use it and use it well for that reason. It is a trigger for things in the mind. Music does amazing things. It can take you back to places. It can relax you. So try to, and Joe's spot on. Try to get a tune that makes you happy. You know what? I'll tell you mine. I really will. My go-to tune, if I really want to relax and chill out, believe it or not, is Life's Been Good to Me So Far by Joe Walsh. And the reason is that song became a hit as I was just starting to fall in love with music, right? When music first started just really sort of flipping my switch, that song became popular. So I would listen to that on the radio years before I ever thought of doing any drugs. The boat works for me. I love it, Rip. I really do. I mean, Leisure. I really do. It means a lot to me. Out of prison should be easier to meditate, bud. You know what? It's the thing with prison was this. They would lock you down. And when they lock everybody down, like right before a meal or right after a meal, it always got quiet. Right during count time. And that's when I would meditate. It would be total silence and there would be no distractions. My phone wasn't going to ring. Nothing was going to go off. And out in the real world, there's a lot that happens. There's a lot that goes on. So, but no, I see what you're saying and it makes a lot of sense. But for me, it's just a little tougher out here. Sleep is huge. Sleep is huge. If you're not getting sleep, you're in deep trouble. And I know it's hard in the beginning. It's hard. So you have to fight for it. You got to, my Maserati does 185. That's right. And that song, it brings me back to a time when I didn't have a care in the world. You know what I mean? Johnny was a kid. My older sister was a kid. My parents were young. There wasn't a care in the world. And so when that song comes on, if you filmed me, you'd hear the first riff, da-na-na, da-na-na, da-na, and the big smile comes on. And I'm there. So instead of listening to songs that, remind me of times when I was doing dope, like somebody, I think it was Buddha, sent me a Chumbawamba that I get knocked down, but I get up again tune. And, it's a cool battle cry. But I was telling him the first time I heard that, I was in a prison transport van, and the guy put music on. I was being taken from a county jail to a prison, and that was the first time I ever heard that. And I thought the irony of that is really something crazy. Reading is huge. Reading is so huge. It will take you out of. It's a very difficult thing to get into a novel, right, or get into a nonfiction book where you're looking down at the page, interpreting the word, sending it to the brain. The brain is then giving you the message and painting the picture in your mind and thinking it over at the same time. It's almost impossible. Reading's huge. It's huge. If you're a reader, God bless you. It's going to make life easier for you. I promise you that. I promise you. I love the boat. I love that there's a safe place I can go and talk about without judgment. Coloring and journaling cleanse my soul. I do it every day. Kimberly, I love that. A lot of people are doing the coloring on the phone now. Lady Crispin's big into that. And it's just relaxing stuff. Anything that helps you relax is huge. Exercise. Last one. So earlier, hey, I get up first thing in the morning and I eat and then I exercise. You're set. What a great way to start your day. What a great way to start your day. You eat, right? So you put food into your stomach. You get some energy to the brain. Good stuff. Then you exercise. And you know what exercise does? It releases drugs in your brain. For real, right? Same ones that you used to pay for. Same drugs. You say, no, there's no heroin in my brain. Yeah, there is, right? The heroin just flipped the switch. The heroin was the exercise. For real. All of these things that relax us, all of these things that make us happy, same thing, different switch. All Smack did was throw a switch. And yeah, absolutely huge, man. Exercise is great. And you do not have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. You don't have to run marathons, right? Walk for 20 minutes. Talk to Alan Ballantyne. Ask Alan what walking 20 minutes has done for him. Of course, Alan is probably walking a lot more than that. I think he just tripped 100 miles. Alan's really, because that's how Alan is. If he's going to do it, he's going to do it. I love Alan. I really do. He's one of my favorite people. But yeah, Alan's killing it. And he's walking every morning after he eats. Good stuff. And you know what? If you say, boy, I'm just not in a physical, situation where I can walk 20 minutes, there's no chance. Can you walk 3? Walk 3. Seriously. Try for 3 minutes and 30 seconds the next day. I am not lying, nor am I exaggerating one iota. I used to walk 20 miles a day when I was at the last yard that I was at, had an indoor track. And so whether it was raining or whether it was nice out or whatever, you could, and the indoor track was above everybody. So you walked on this padded track and you didn't have to worry about people coming up behind you or any of the things that sometimes are an issue when you're in a place like that. And you could look down on everyone who was down playing basketball or doing anything else. But it was so cathartic for me, I can't tell you. I cannot tell you. I really enjoyed it. It became such a huge part of my sobriety and what I was doing. So yeah, exercise is massive. And then the biggest one that I would say, absolutely the biggest antidote, is reaching out and talking to somebody who's been there. Reaching out and talking to another addict is the absolute best thing you can do when a trigger begins to trigger you. The worst thing that you can do is get through it. Believe that. If you just go like this and grit your teeth and get through it, you didn't get through it. You didn't. It just chipped a little bit out of that foundation I was talking about yesterday. The one that Franklin is building, right? The one that the Brandons are building. The one that all of us are building. Right? It just chips a little bit away at that foundation. And then you get back to doing what you're doing and you think you're good. And the foundation gets a little bit worse and a little bit worse and eventually we relapse. Right? So you start feeling that way, man, reach out to your 5. If you do not have a 5 today, Cemetery, good to see you, bud. I got to watch. I got to send you a picture of it. You will not believe it. And it's not for sale. Don't start. But I'll send you a beautiful picture. You won't believe it. So first things first, get over to that 5 location, right? To our help site over there and get your 5. If you don't have them, go get them. Right? We got it's all laid out there. Just go in there and type in, I love this boat too, Ladybug. I love this boat too. I really do. I love it. Everybody on it. Okay, people, so go get your 5. Get your 5. Get up tomorrow morning and look for the lifeboat. If you haven't caught a morning show, catch one tomorrow. You know what, cemetery? This one's not. It says everything's for sale. Not everything, not this one. Not squirrel. Squirrel's not for sale. These for sale, squirrel. Actually, the way she was last night, I might be taking offers. To all of you, you've been reaching out about me. There's a lot of you that want me to talk, to tell you where the watches, where you can go and see my watches and all of that, because my brother did a video on getting a watch for people for a birth watch. So if you were born in 1970, you get someone a 1970 watch or whatever. And I've had a lot of emails since. I don't want to do it here. I just don't want to commingle what I do with the boat, because the boat's just the boat, and I don't ever want to do that. So you want that? I'm at my Yahoo, sober at myyahoo.com. You really want to see that? Go ahead and reach out to me that way. I've had a lot of people go to Lady Fi because they figure they don't want to ask me. They'll ask Lady Fi, and then Linda will, but if that's something that you really are interested in, just reach out to me. I don't want to do anything of that here, okay? I will be back tomorrow night. Same squirrel time, same squirrel channel. I'll be doing the same squirrel thing. You know why? Because this is the best way. It is. Keeps me sober. And I love the fact that other people are getting sober. Crazy, good to see you. Crazy Brumfield, good to see you. So, it's time for the cat in the basket. She just shot me the look out of the corner of her eye. I am Captain Tommy Scoville. And that is a cat in the basket. Say goodnight, squirrel. He's a good kitty. Good night, everybody. We love you. All right, squirrel. Well played.